Hey guys, Caleb Thornton here, back with another video, and today we're going to be doing somewhat of a mini mouse roundup or comparison, whatever you might want to call it, with the likes of the Model O and Model D minus from Glorious, as well as the Viper Mini and Deathadder Mini from Razer, and then the Cooler Master MM711. I do know that there's other small mice on the market out there, but these are all ones that I have personally tested, as well as just being decently popular options and also being around a more budget-friendly price, with all of them coming in close in price, as well as in size and lightweight performance. So I figured this would make for a good roundup video. So whether you guys are maybe considering one of these specific mice or just looking for a smaller mouse, you might find this video helpful in narrowing down your choice. So let's hop into it. Just to quickly touch on the pricing, these are all $50 besides the Viper Mini, which normally comes in at $40, but as of the making this video, that's only on Amazon for $30. So if you guys were thinking about picking that up, definitely hop on that deal right now, because $30, in my opinion, is an absolute steal for the Viper Mini. But otherwise, all of them very similar in price. As far as build quality and design goes, if you're not a fan of honeycomb cutouts, well, that's definitely going to help narrow down your choice, because both Glorious mice as well as the MM711 do have those honeycomb cutouts, which you might like, you might not like. It seems that companies usually like to cut out holes in their mice to get that weight down, which is something that I do like about Razer. They still have not done that, so you get a solid shell mouse, but you still get that lightweight performance, which is great to see. As far as honeycomb cutouts go on these mice right here though, the Cooler Master MM711 definitely has the biggest cutouts of any of them, and I will say, because of them being bigger, it does make for an uncomfortable grip as far as if your fingers get into those, or on the grip side, my pinky will sometimes get into that honeycomb grip right there because of the actual size of it, and I did find that to be annoying, whereas with Glorious, they have their honeycomb cutouts a little bit tinier, and I found it just to make for a more comfortable grip experience, as well as none on the side panels, which absolutely drives me crazy with the MM711. Along with that honeycomb design, I will say, as far as shell integrity goes on all three of these, is also worse than the solid shell, with there just being present creaking like top to bottom, as well as side button activation when you squeeze on it, and I can do it with one hand too, which shows the fact that I don't even have to put that much pressure on it. Now, did this cause me, affect me in-game performance-wise? No, it never actually gave me issues. Obviously no one's gripping on their mouse like this while you're just playing games, but for me personally, I like to bring it out to you guys because it does speak as far as to the integrity of the kind of materials they're using in it, and possibly, down the road, how is it gonna hold up over 3 months if you can literally pull it out of the box and already have side panel activation and creakiness in it. It's just something to take into consideration. Maybe the integrity of the product is not gonna be the best, but again, didn't affect me in game, just something that I like to point out to you guys. And if you wanna hear the creaking on it, I'll go ahead and give you guys a quick sound test of the shell itself so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Again, the Viper Mini and the Deathadder Mini are the only ones out of these options here that do have that solid shell, and going along with that, perfectly fine. If you can squeeze on those all day, absolutely no give or flex in those side panels, just making for a more solid and a nice feeling experience when it's in your hand, not that cheaper feeling plastic, and you don't have to worry about it creaking or flexing or any side button activation or DPI top to bottom activation. Razer does use their speed flex cable on both the Viper Mini and Deathadder Mini, and it's not the best. It's not horrible in a bungee, it's definitely passable. It is very thick though, and just not the most flexible cable. With all of these though, I would just recommend, if you obviously want the best experience, slapping a paracord on it like I did with the Viper Mini really does drastically improve it based off the stock cables. Glorious Ascended cable is decent as well. It's a lot thinner than the Razer SpeedFlex cable, but even though it's thin, it still is pretty rigid and does not give much at all, and it does hold its shape decently bad, so it's not horrible. All these cables are passable in a bungee if you do have one. That does help it a lot too. The best stock cable out of all of them though is definitely on this MM711. They have a decently soft and flexible cable that does not give you much holding shape or drag, which is nice to see included, just stock out of the box. Shape is always going to be something very subjective, going from mouse to mouse, and then of course person to person, depending on your hand size and your favorite grip style. Just want to quickly preface this by saying, before we actually hop into the shapes, all of these are smaller mice, so if you're someone like me who does have on the larger size of hands, these basically all force me right into that claw or fingertip style grip. So if you do have bigger hands, just make sure you're using those grip styles, as these will probably force you into that. And then again, those of you with smaller hands are probably going to benefit the most with these, just opening up out more different grip styles with them overall. Of the bunch here, the Model D- and Deathadder Mini are the only two that feature that ergo shape, and I do think the Model D- from Glorious does a much better job in the shape as far as giving you still that ergo feel while allowing you the room to change around that grip, whereas with the Deathadder Mini, I just feel they didn't change it enough going from the normal size Deathadder, like they really just took that and shrunk it down and did not translate well, still having those really big aggressive curves, which really just forces you down into like one grip position, which I did not enjoy at all personally while using it. Whereas with the D-, I was still able to move my hand around the side without having super aggressive curves, but still get to enjoy the benefits of that ergo shape. The Viper Mini, Model O-, and MM711 all have that same symmetrical ambi shape, which is just gonna be a safer shape overall as it's just more receptive to hand sizes and different grip styles. The MM711 is definitely the most unique of these three, having its hump more towards the back, which is gonna make it just more akin to that claw grip, whereas the Viper Mini and Model O-, you'll find that their hump is more towards the middle, and their feeling as far as shape goes is more similar between those two. Shape-wise though, again, it's gonna change from person to person, but if you are really unsure of what shape to go for, I would definitely recommend just going with that ambi shape, such as that Viper Mini and Model O-. They're just gonna be safer, just opening it up to more grip styles as well as hand sizes. So if you guys are gonna choose one of them and you're unsure, I would say go with one of the more traditional ambi, having that hump towards the middle and symmetrical sides really open it up a lot. If you wanna take advantage of those optical switches, you are only gonna find those in the Viper Mini and the Deathadder Mini, which you might like, you might not like. For me personally, I think they're completely passable, and I think Razer has really improved on their optical switches from their first iteration. And of course, the benefits, you don't have any debounce time, you don't have to worry about any double clicking issues happening in the future with these. These are using more traditional mechanical switches over here. All three of these actually, Glorious and the Cooler Master MM711, are using Omron 20Ms, which feel nice, crispy, tactile response as well. But I'll go ahead and give you guys a sound test for yourselves so you can form your own opinions on the sound of them. All clicks on these mice, I would say, are very passable, and just with a few hours of playtime with them, you'll be completely used to them. I'm not gonna cover them in super specific detail for each mouse because we'd end up spending way too much time on that, and I do have dedicated reviews on each one of these if you wanna watch more specifically on one mouse over the other. But just to quickly cover it, minimal pre and post travel on all mouse 1 and 2 between all of these. I would say the worst of the bunch was probably the MM711, has quite a bit of post travel, as well as I have some crunchiness on my left mouse click on there, which I believe is just a QC issue, not something you're gonna have with every mouse, and I do believe that's just an issue for Cooler Master, as well as Glorious with their quality control. They've definitely had some issues over time. As far as sides button goes, if you're someone who really likes those bigger, chunkier side buttons, you're only gonna find those on the ergonomic small mice, such as the Model D- and the Deathadder, the Mini Deathadder. As far as the other ones, the side buttons a little bit smaller, nothing horrible. As far as the size of the mouse goes, we obviously don't expect the side buttons to be huge. Definitely passable, and pre and post travel is present on most of them. Being a little bit mushy, I would say the Model D- probably has the best side buttons out of the bunch here. As far as scroll wheels go, all very similar. I would say the Glorious scroll wheels out of the bunch here definitely are the most loose feeling. I would like to see a little bit more tension on those, but very comparable. And then down below that scroll wheel on all of them, you'll have your DPI button, which everyone knows what that does, slide to cycle between your preset DPI stages in the software. Overall, my recommendations for what I would say to choose, and again, this is subjective and just take this as my opinion, but do know that I have spent time testing all of these mice individually, so I do have a good idea of what the feel and build quality is on all of them. If you're wanting to go for a smaller ergonomic mouse, I would definitely take the Model D- over the Deathadder Mini, and that's just primarily, again, because the Deathadder Mini, I really feel like it forces you down into that one hand position or grip style, whereas with the D-, they do open it up a little bit more, having a little bit more flatter sides, and I just feel it's better done on the D- than it was with the Deathadder Mini. If you're going to go for that more ambi size, like between the Model O-, Cooler Master MM711, and then the Viper Mini, I would say build quality wise, for sure the Viper Mini Mini, it just feels more solid, and for me personally, I'm not a big fan of the honeycomb feel. It just makes it feel cheaper, as well as getting that creakiness and that side panel flex in these mice just makes it feel not as quality of a product. Whereas that Viper Mini, not only is it like $20 cheaper right now, I just feel like the build quality really shines through there and makes it a better mouse overall. And again, you do get that advantage of the optical switches if that's something that you would like to take advantage of. The Cooler Master MM711 does offer something unique though in comparison to these others. So if you're someone that really likes that claw grip, this does offer you that hump more towards the back, which is obviously just going to be more akin, having it hit you back in the hand a little bit easier, making it nicer for that claw grip. So if you're someone that really wants a mouse for that, then obviously the Cooler Master MM711 is just going to be your mouse for that. Again though, remember the quality control issues with this, just a little bit cheaper feeling mouse. So if you're planning on purchasing it, just go into it with knowing that you might not end up with the best quality product. You might have to end up sending it back for some quality control issues like I had with mine. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you did find this helpful, informative, and hopefully kind of help you narrow down your decision a little bit here. It's pretty hard to cover, you know, so many mice in one video. Obviously though, I just want to get all the small mice together to help you guys looking for one of those. So if you guys did enjoy it, please hit that like button for me, and do consider subscribing for more content just like this in the very near future. But I'll see you guys in the next video.